Yeah, and Lumiere can certainly, well, at the very least, think about it. I think that's where, well, oddly enough, Wildcard do have the movement, though. If they need to, well, they put the Batrider in lane versus him, then, Batrider
Hmm.
versus Bloodseeker doesn't look great for the Bloodseeker. I'll have to see. No,
Oh,
they instead to just go for the Queen of Pain, which is now another forcing move because Queen of Pain is going to want to lane versus the Batrider, and Wildcard are going to look to dodge that. But yeah, Wildcard just have too many offlaners right now, which is an interesting problem to have. And now because they don't go for it, the Bloodseeker ban does go through. If I had to guess though, I'd say what we're probably seeing here is that Wildcard moved the Doom to be your pos 5, which is what probably feels the best, and then switching the Penguin the Batrider between your 3 and your 2, just because I think Devi almost certainly should be the Pango player on this team. Nothing against Exantic. I just think Device probably played it a good bit more. And then Exantic probably has played Batrider a good bit more. So that's
hmm.
probably where you see that combo. But I do wonder if this Queen of Pain is really going to be appraised as it should. Because now you should look to dodge that lane out. Do you want to put the Pango versus the Queen of Pain is the real question here. Or do Wildcard look to switch it up again? Because they could. And they could also run the Doom, let's say mid versus the Quap. And then they change things up even further. It's where these multi-tool heroes are just so obnoxious to draft and play against. The one thing though that Wildcard is missing is that carry that does it all. Because right now the lineup does not get towers, does not get creeps, does not get Roshan. We need one of those ultra carries for Wildcard to round out their draft.
Yeah, they need someone to do that sort of heavy lifting. But well, we'll see what the choice is. Hokori start off with a ban on the Morphling, which I mean, between these two teams, if a Morphling isn't banned, something's going wrong. It's both Yuma and Lumiere very familiar with it. So take that option away, and now if you're Wildcard, what else are they looking at here ban-wise? Because the Bloodseeker was just kind of a necessity, right? Just because of the heroes that you had taken. At this point, what else are they really afraid of? Because Hokori could push the pace a little bit here with the lineup that they've got, and okay, with the Slark ban, it is a hero that can maybe play up to that faster tempo.
Yeah. And also, Lumiere, not afraid to pick it. A lot of carries just don't like the hero in general, but Lumiere has definitely been one of the most flexible in the tournament, even though I guess no longer in the tournament, but not going to cry too much about that. But covering their Batrider is the main thing, and their Pango to a certain degree, because they're just keeping their options open to them. At the same time, I think Hokori probably just looking for a ranged carry that can lane versus the Batrider. Something to nuke him with the stick charges would be nice as well, because I feel like they should probably look to dodge that Quap lane no matter what, and hopefully Wildcard don't force themselves into that position. It's where we should see an early smoke from Wildcard at the very least, just so they can scout out lanes. Because what it feels like right now is it's going to be Quap mid for Hokori, nonetheless, analog Quap, but then it's going to be the less tiny off lane, which certainly could feel a little bit weak depending on what they go for here. Thinking for wild card though, carry wise, I think the easy pick is like a Drow. And no,
Hmm.
they go for Faceless Void. They look for the big stun, and that is what Chrono is going to be. But I don't know. A hero that needs a lot of time, and the last time Yuma actually played this Faceless Void, he was allotted a lot of time, and they won that game. But at the same time, I feel like that is not your objective rolling easy hero to steamroll the game with. It's where they've almost tripled down, quadrupled down even on their team fight power. But I do kind of fear for Hokori just giving Lumiere some easy carry to just kind of bop you with. Not to mention, your towers are going to be under so much pressure now from the Leshrac. If you chrono kill Leshrac, great, but he's just going to TP back to the lane and then get right back to business. It's where I hope that Wildcard haven't pushed themselves into that cooldown reliant lineup where Hokori are just going to fight you, fight you, fight you, and you can only take one of those 3 fights.
And the worst part is, looking at the wildcard lineup, you're only going to be able to take so many of those fights, and even in that fight, they don't have the highest amount of damage output here. The Faceless Void is notoriously slow to build up, and
Mm,
on the other side of things, there is now a Drow Ranger who is never really lacking in the damage department. So, yeah, got some concerns for the wildcard side. I suppose we'll see who takes what here, because maybe some of those decisions alleviate those concerns, but it's pretty much going to be exactly what we thought. Yuma at the 1, Exantic will take the Pango mid, and they'll run Devi in the off lane.
yeah, and we'll see. There's kind of a discussion there for your 4 and your 5, just because well, of course, do you just run the 5 Doom and then, yeah, he'll run around, probably getting tossed back onto Vitali, but will be kind of your stopper there to really get some aggression off of Yuma. But Vitali now has a really easy lane. He's just the only ranged hero surrounded by melee cores. It should just be him having a really easy time. Needs level 6 before he can ever put too much pressure onto Yuma. And then, maybe the rotations will be there. And if there's one thing the Wildcard do have, they have stellar team fight. They have Doom, they have Lasso, they have Rolling Thunder, they've got Chronosphere. And I think really that's where the heavy lifting has to come from your Pango and your Batrider for the majority of this game. That's who's going to give you that map control. That's who's going to put some fear onto the Corey side of the game. But that's where if they ever miss, they ever see that whiff that happens, and if Yuma comes to a fight and the fight isn't just an all-out win, well, Yuma's not going to show up, and then Yuma's going to farm. So is Lumiere and Vitali and Analog. It's where Hokori, they might not have as good team fight as Wildcard, but they have a true tri-core. It's where you lose 1 or 2 team fights, 1 core isn't going to be enough. If you blow 3 ultimates to kill Vitali, well, the other 2 are going to be able to carry the rest of the game. It's where I think you really have to be careful here if you're Wildcard. Kind of a tread lightly situation, because you blow all your ultimates, well, you better hope you're killing 3 or 4 heroes every single time.
We'll see how well they can use the big cooldown ultimates, and then I suppose more importantly, how well they play in between, because I don't know. I mean, there's a world, right? I mean, you get the Chrono, you get some kills in between Chrono and or Doom cooldown. You're using Lasso and Rolling Thunder very efficiently, and I think the math checks out where they could bridge all of that together well. It just one part of that chain breaks, and it's just all kind of falling apart. So I don't know. They're going to need top-notch execution here from this this particular lineup, but I guess it'll be a good test for them heading into Phase 3, right? Can they put something together like this that requires a bunch of moving parts to be working in sync?
Yeah, and that's where I think, especially, maybe not laning stage, there's a lot to talk about laning stage, but once this game does break down, Vitali really needs to check himself. Just make sure you're not too far underneath those towers. You need to put tower pressure. You're Leshrac, of course you are, but making sure he doesn't get caught by the rotations of the Batrider and the Pango, because in a very similar way to the Dragon Knight he's the one that gets this game started. He's the one who gets those early buildings. He's the one that sets the pace for the game. And if Wildcard find those early picks on him, it's where Hokori's game plan can kind of go and slow down to a halt. Not to mention, they don't really have any initiation aside from Theliacor getting his Blink Dagger. Okay, little fight for the rune. Loses the bounty, eats a lot of damage, but Stasis Void locks it off. But until then, Hokori have to have a really tight early game to then make space for the Tiny to become that initiator. Otherwise, they don't have a great way to start a lot of these team fights, where Wildcard, exact opposite. They always have a way to start a fight.
Well, see how this plays out. Slight advantage on the bounty runes, getting 3 of the 4, but we will settle into our laning setup here, and well, we'll see if Boris is going to be the toss-back bully target between Vitali and Theliacor. Because Yuma, you can harass him, you can slow him down, but in terms of actually killing him, he's mostly untouchable.
Yeah, it's pretty hard, and eating a ton of damage. That's where Theliacor boots first. He is definitely looking to look for the nice toss plays onto creep waves as opposed to anything else, but needs to be level 2 before that's even on the table. Needs to be level 3 even, just with how Tiny's skill up nowadays, but it'll be fine. Just eating a lot of harassment. But this lane doesn't really get started until Vitali hits level 6, because you need that Pulse Nova, otherwise there's just no reason for Yuma to leap away unless he ends up getting hit by a Split Earth.
Right. We'll keep an eye on the levels on that side of the map. Meanwhile, down bot, Lumiere. Well, this is always the thing about the Drow Ranger. Lumiere is very obviously going to be looking at last hits 95% of the time, but if you get a little bit too far forward, all of a sudden the frost arrows into the multi-shot kind of slow you down, so Wildcard are going to have to watch their positioning here. But if they play this safely, this should be a relatively boring lane.
Yeah, and also Lumiere saving a skill point, just knowing that if he needs to, the Gust is always kind of a get out of jail free card, but also a lane where Defy simply can't fight for denies, so it's really hard for him to shut down. But top,
Take it.
yeah, they get Boris just in the small camp. Of course, gives a free wave over to Yuma under the tower, but just gets caught up by that level 2 from the Tiny.
Okay. He was pretty damn close, actually, to finishing that TP, but a little bit too much damage, and since he did try to TP, he's got a long walk back to lane. He actually popped to the Scorched Earth, trying to speed it up a little bit, and hell, with how slow he is, by the time he makes it back to the actual tower, Scorched Earth will be back up, so I guess not much lost there. It's just a very sad time for Boris.
Yeah, unfortunate, but, you know, that's, as they say, what can you do? Just trying to get a little bit greedy and then punish there, because he would have been making the same walk if that TP did complete. Just gives over his life in addition, so.
Well, first action goes down. Hokori get first blood, and that gives us a chance to maybe swing things over to this middle lane, because this is something I was kind of finding interesting. We were talking about Wildcard obviously wanting to avoid the Bat versus Quap lane, because that's just a lost lane for the Bat Rider. It's not like it's much more fun for Exantic on the Pango, right? He's not going to get completely destroyed, but it's still rough going dealing with a Quap maxing out the Shadow Strike.
Yeah, and with the way that the creep wave is, Xanthic really can't do much. The nice thing about Panga, though, as long as you're hitting the swash onto the opposing mid laner, well, trade-wise, you can edge out just slightly, but the more spells you spend on your opposing mid laner, the less creeps you're getting, and then you'll start to fall behind as those Shadow Strike points do get up. But really, it could be worse. It's sad that Analog has his creep wave so far up onto his tower. Otherwise, Xanthic could fight for a lot more of these last hits, but this is what you need to do with Quap as well. If you're not being the bully, then you've probably messed up somewhere along the way. But Water Runes, oh, and it's a fight, and nice play from Analog there. Just continuing to try and be that bully, as Xanthic now has to walk all the way towards top, where there's a Tiny waiting for him. So now Xanthic's out of plays.
Yep. And, yeah, this was the point. Maybe it's a slightly better matchup, but there's really no such thing as a fun mid lane when there's a Quap on the other side. So, long trip back. Xanthic has to walk. I suppose at this point it's better than being dead, but it does give a little bit of an edge over. So all three lanes realistically going pretty well for Hokori right now. Their cores are all sitting at the top of that last hit chart by small margins, but still. They're doing well. Not a lot of pressure being applied to them, and is exactly what they want at the moment.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty much what they drafted for, and something that Wildcard will only really be able to make up with their ultimates once they're online, but we're still a ways away from that. But until then, it's difficult to say, because even with that, the first ultimate that is going to come online is going to be the Rolling Thunder, and with how slow Xanthic's game is and will be, well, we'll see if that's enough, because if Hokori have a staggering lead coming out of the laning stage, a level 6 Pango really doesn't matter that much. It's where maybe once he has Max Swash and the Orb of Corrosion, he'll become a much greater threat. But until then, the waiting game is what it's going to be. A waiting game that Hokori are losing. You know, they're getting aggressive on a Gardic, which is nice, but now they're out of gas, and now Devi, he's going to have to get lifted back here, but not a fun situation to be in. And now Alexo.
He'll be okay. Yeah, Alexo may not. He's going to try to finish the TP. He does make it out, and over on the other side, Vitaly didn't make it away from Boris there. I got split focus between the two side lanes, but Wildcard are able to get their first kill on the board, and did see it in the abilities used in the teamfight description. Boris is making heavy use of this mana burn against the Leshrac and the Tiny. It's paying for itself there, as Analog, yeah. He hit 6 just a moment earlier than his opponent. Theolacor, I don't think Theolacor was even actually involved. He didn't get there in time. It's just Sonic Wave for the kill, and Queen of Pain finds the kill.
Yeah, just a little bit greedy, but also the time dilation back top, that's the whole reason. What a great spell. But if Analog can continue to really make these rotations happen now, of course, 3 points up in Shadow Strike honestly is enough for the Quap to rotate, but probably wants his boots. It's the only thing holding him back. But that was even our Arcane Rune Sonic Wave, so it's going to be up sooner than later, and then you will be able to make that easy TP rotation. Because honestly, Analog only wants to leave his lane if he can. Just TP to the lane, get a kill, then start blinking back towards mid. He doesn't want to give any time or free space to the Pango, because that's the advantage he has to play around with.
Yeah, you've already gotten a bit of an edge for yourself. Make the rotations great, but don't give Xantic a free path back into anything close to sort of even standing here, because this Pango, he's got boots, he's got a bottle. It's that's it. That's the end of the list. So not a fun time for him. I don't know. He's getting close to his level 6, and items or no items, Rolling Thunder is a potential threat, but not a great one at the moment. But Yolakor is going to go for the toss-back play here. They miss with the splitter, though, so Boris has a chance to maybe get out. Well, especially if Yuma's going to throw down a Chronosphere, but I don't know if they have enough damage to actually finish Vitali off in the aftermath of that. The bash comes through, so Yuma is tempted, but that's not a good idea. Now with Analog in, it's a very, very bad idea. No Sonic Wave up for 5, but they did get the Shadow Strike for the DOT. Can Boris get the deny?
Do you want the deny, though?
Boy. Well, mistakes were made. The Yolakor is able to pick up a double. Gardic is going to fall on the other side, though, as Xantic does hit that 6 and goes in with the Rolling Thunder, as we were saying. This is where things get a little bit more dicey, though. They're looking at Lumiere. It's some nice damage coming in, but yeah, they're going to get punished. Multi-shot finishes Devi. What is he still doing there? Well, he's getting greedy. That's what he's doing. And now the Yolakor comes in to save the day again. Picks up a 3rd kill across all of this, and at least Alexo's going to be able to walk away, but that's just honestly really bad. Devi comes back in. They don't have enough damage from the Pango, and everybody gets punished there.
Yeah, and then just a little bit of miscommunication. Lumiere was squared down, ready to take his death, but then he gets tossed out of the swashbuckle. So they make the play just with nothing. And said before, Xantic is maybe not the scariest hero with just level 6, just the bones of what Pango can do. But he's got no net worth. He's got no gold. He's got no items just yet. He greeted out for the arcane boots, so gonna help him farm maybe a little bit, but again, without corrosion, without maybe the workings of a diffusal, you know, items down the line, but he's just not the strongest of heroes right now. That's why he even goes for the more points in shield crash as opposed to the swash, which is not what you want, but he just has nothing to play with for the swash right now. And now, Wildcard, they're cooking Theliacor. He's just kind of in the trees. They have full vision of him, but Devi, is he going to go down before? Trying not to get baited here, but it's not going to be a bait, and it's just going to be a dead Bat Rider. And then the rotation comes in Analog with the DD. He's also spelling trouble for you.
2 down on the side of Wildcard. It looks like Boris is going to be able to walk away. Analog would have to just kind of blind blink to find him, and we're not going to be able to do that. But that's more kills, and that's an opportunity to get some damage onto the Tier 1 tower. So Hokori are feeling really good about their position right now, and Wildcard just don't feel like they have the firepower to really force these engagements just yet. But Chrono's going to be up in about 12 seconds. Boris is slowly but surely approaching level 6 for Doom. They are trying to make a move onto Vitali right now, but he is dishing out a lot of damage. But here comes Xantic into the fight, hoping to help. Not before Boris goes down, but with the Rolling Thunder, they will finish the job and make it a trade.
Yep, and they get the kill onto Vitali. The kill that is going to happen because Vitali is going to just run at you and try to create space, and space that is allowing for this dive to happen bottom. And hopefully Devi, oh, he let himself get a little bit slowed here. But with the TP in, and actually the cancel. Okay, well, a forced TP. You know, maybe a little bit of a bait, but it looks like this tier 1's going to go down. But Vitali can't afford too many deaths like that, especially with Chronosphere back up. This is where they just need to continue to trade their ultis as, oh, Xantic gets caught farming his stack. The ward just too good, sees that stack be made all the way. I think that was a 3 stack that he ended up trying to farm, but really easy kill. And Analog continues to be obnoxious.
Doesn't have mana for Sonic Wave at this point, so Exo may live here. Shadow Strike is a lot of damage, but it won't be enough. Well, that is some nice damage up top, though. Vitali going to get himself caught out. Chronosphere deployed, so well, ET, you predicted it, right? You get taken down with no Chrono. You try to go back, hoping to just reset the lane. Yuma's able to pop the Chrono, and they use the lasso in there as well. But honestly, I don't think they care. They needed those kills. They're able to get him, and now Xantic is going to go looking for Analog here. He's got a hit with the Rolling Thunder. He gets one down, and they find the kill. And maybe he pays for this. Multi-shot is going to start ticking him low a little bit, but he is not dead yet. Swashbuckles to the high ground. And just like that, you know, Wildcard put together some pretty damn valuable kills, and they're looking for another. Theolacor in the river is not the tankiest of individuals, but now Devi kind of wishes he did have his lasso back up, because without it, there's really no play to be made here. Lumiere's going to get tossed directly on top of that bat, and they will find the pick.
Yeah, get 3 easy kills, move on to the next target. 3 ultimates down in consecutive order, but no, they get something. That's the only important aspect. They always get something. I think if they can continue to keep the focus on that Leshrac, that's what's going to keep their buildings alive. Even though, oh, an analog,
Ooh.
okay, whiffs on the kill on the Boris bottom, so Hokori not able to play with their lead really all too well right now. Good pressure onto the mid tower though, and with these heroes TPing in, you should be scared, but 10 seconds without Rolling Thunder, Lumiere knows that he can make this play, and this is the troublesome aspect of Hokori's lineup. If Lumiere is strong enough to just sit here with the rest of the team and hit their mid tower, that brings focus away from Vitaly, who now finally claims his offlane tower.
A little while to get that objective, but hey, they've now got both of the tier 1s top and bot. Of course, the middle tower really is the one that they want to knock down to free up a lot of the map, but the Leshrac's focus can now shift, unless Vitaly feels like farming in the jungle instead. He is pretty close to a Yule Scepter. Could see him finish that off before he makes a move elsewhere, as the Wildcard, well, he's making a run for it here. Dilation is going to hit him up, though, but he's still getting out of Vitaly. Set a trap. He's going to go for the Edict first. Gets the slow. Now the Pulse Nova, and yeah, Boris. Little bit greedy. Will be punished for it, and now it's Antic. Yeah, this is not the spot you want to be. There's the Gust for the silence. No Rolling Thunder, and well, 1 death that should not have happened turns into 2 deaths that should not have happened, and now Devi got to be very careful here. Vitaly's trying to fake him out. Doesn't commit the splitters just yet. Might need teammates to come in, though. Or maybe not. Vitaly's doing a lot of damage. Damn. The Wildcard's in, but he wasn't even needed.
And then they take the mid tower, and then now Wildcard have all of their ultimates. Now it's their turn. And that's what this game is going to kind of feel like until we get maybe a few more items and they can do plays without their ultis. But if Wildcard don't hit in the next minute or so, that's where the wasted time starts to add up. That's where you really become worried for Wildcard. But now, time to spam all of your ultimates on the enemy heroes. Look for another kill. They know that Vitaly TP'd bottom, so that's probably their easy place to strike. But Wildcard getting organized and moving with their smokes during this next nighttime, that's going to be extremely important for them to now stall up the games. Because Witchblade done, Yule's done on Vitaly. The items are there, and look bottom. Vitaly shouldn't be allowed to do this, but
yeah, Devi is going to go down. Boris, I mean, he had Doom, but he didn't throw it out. There is going to be a counterplay mid, though. Analog gets caught in that, not in that chrono, actually. They do it without the chrono, so now it's available to maybe try and make a wraparound. Vitaly's sticking around. This is a little bit concerning, but the wrap doesn't actually come. It's Antic and Alex were pushing that way, but Angelier will be lured by the promise of last hits, but there's still a potential fight coming through here. The Wildcard wants it. The Doom, though, was applied. They caught out the Leshrac. They're going to catch him out in the chrono now as well. And they will find that kill, and the Wildcard, I don't know if you get away from this. There's going to be that War Stomp coming in. Analog, though, TP's to the fight. Wants to save the Sonic for the highest amount of damage, but eventually he does decide to just deploy it onto Boris, get the 1 kill that they knew that they could grab, but that's not really as valuable. You lost the Lash already, the Wildcard goes down, so it's a trade that basically guarantees Wildcard a win.
And they don't use the lasso at all. They stagger their long cooldowns, so now you can make a play with the Pango and the Bat Rider in 50 seconds. It's, again, extremely important. It's just anything to slow up Hokori. Otherwise, they will just get the game moving, and this is also very smart. Finishes the pike on Lumiere, move towards the Roche pit, move their zombie, abusing and dying a little bit, but this is a very free Roche, one that Wildcard can't really contest without Xantic ready to roll around, so instead, they'll get the trade on the tower, but this is just the first Roche, so not the most impactful. They even give it to the Quap, not onto Lumiere, just so that way Analog has that little bit of a buffer to play around with, but the next set of spells, it's always what we're going to be looking for Wildcard. Devi even slows up his BKB so he can get a Blink Dagger just so they have another play in their back pocket.
Quick push onto Boris there in the middle lane. Going to be able to find the kill. That's a kill. Wildcard are going to be okay giving up, though. He didn't have Doom up anyway. It's going to buy you a little bit more time. Your cores don't get hit instead. But there's only so long we're going to be able to say that, right? Because if Hokori do start getting the Leshrac going and taking more of these objectives, then you're just going to lose space, right? Giving up support kills is perfectly fine for the time being, but course have to continue to farm, or they have to look for a fight. They are going to find one. Tavai, though, wants the lasso onto the Drow, and he wasn't really in the best of positions to grab it, but they're still going to try. They get the knockback there from the Flame Break. Gust only really hits onto the Rubik, so Lumiere falls without the use of the lasso, and I mean, this is the level of execution you want from Wildcard, right? They are finding pickoffs, they're using their abilities either efficiently or not having to use them at all.
Yeah. And this does buy time for Theliacore, time that we knew was going to have to be allotted to him. He's going to have his Blink Dagger after this bottom wave. Vitali's been very polite right now, not stealing any last hits from him. But now it's Hokori's turn to maybe make one of those casual, just Blink initiations. Top lane felt a little bit weird, just walked into two really nice words from Wildcard, and then only ever having the Undying with the Drow. It's a very obvious play for Wildcard to make, but all three ultimates are going to be back up pretty soon here. It's Antic, the only one on the back burner, but 15 seconds, and then he's ready to go as well. And then what should be a lost team fight is going to be Hokori having to deal with this. This is where if they find the Drow again, this could really ruin Lumiere's game. He's showing on a real big juicy wave top. And again, they used so little.
Chrono is in. That's an easy pickoff. Easy. There we go. Easy pickoff. Yeah, I wasn't worried. They find the play, and now on the other side of the map, okay, it's Antics getting hit, great, but the reinforcements are coming. Devi's in, there's the lasso, they catch Vitali. They need a little bit more damage to actually finish him off, though. And, well, hold on a second, because things are getting a little bit dicey. Analog blinks in, suiciding with the Aegis. But what else are they going to get with this? Nothing! They jump in the blink into the Doom. Oh my goodness, Analog thought he was the one laying the trap, ET. He was the target all along. Boris and Yuma just blow him up.
Yeah, and, well, you go from losing your Drow into the top lane, getting Lumiere's game a little bit ruined, to then, I think, sticking around just a little bit too long top. And even though you don't get the Leshrac, I feel like you got everything you wanted. You buy time, you give even more golden XP over to Yuma. He only gets to join fights that are already won before he even TPs in. And, of course, well, you've got a 5 Doom. He's still a Doom, but he's got Max Devour, and that's really what catches you off guard there. The Doom has not showed on the map in an extremely long time, then comes out of nowhere to just blink, hoofstomp, Doom you. You just don't expect it, and then it catches you off guard, and then you die, and you're feeling pretty sad.
Now a very low mana Vitali is getting eyeballed. Now, it's Antic, that's too far to cross with just his Rolling Thunder. And I don't know if they actually saw the rotation coming in or if they just suspected it, but Hokori were sending heroes over. Now they know for sure Lumiere's here, so not going to go too far. But you look at the way Hokori is advancing here, you got to be careful, because Wildcard do have enough heroes in the area where if they collapsed, could be in for a rough fight. And sure, there's no Chrono, there's no Doom, there's no Lasso, but you'll have Telekinesis, you have Rolling Thunder. You will not have Telekinesis anymore, though, because Alexo just gets jumped in underneath his own tier 2.
Yeah, and very brave. They're pushing onto these towers, but you do have that Chrono coming up in just another 10 seconds here. The real question for Wildcard is, do you want to force Yuma into a fight with him 400 gold away from his BKB? The tier 2 might not be worth it, but of course they don't want to give up buildings, especially when they've got heroes in such interesting positions. And with the TP in, looking for cores, they have vision though. Yuma, watch him.
Xantic's making a move. Going in for the Rolling Thunder. They're going to try to take down Gardic first. The bash comes through from Yuma, so they find that kill, but now Yuma, he's going to get stunned himself. No chance for the... Oh, man, no chance for the Chrono. He's going to get taken down. Xantic now low on HP as well, and this fight's getting a little bit rough. But the Lasso was deployed. They caught Lumiere. They'll pull him back under the tower for the kill. But now Theolacor wants in. There's the blink into the Avalanche. Analog blinks in as well. Damage onto the Rubik. They're going to take him down in just a moment. And Wildcard... I think the efficiency game kind of just ruins them a little bit there. Yuma thinking, if I go in and I get a bash onto Gardic, I don't need to Chrono. And yeah, that's true. You don't need to Chrono the Undying, but there's half the lineup on that high ground that he didn't see.
Yeah, and you can even see in kind of the remnants of that fight, just no vision on that high ground. There's no way for really Yuma to find a clean jump onto the drown the Lesh, even though maybe if he baited his teammate a little bit more, it would have worked out. Even though Xantic got a sick roll up. If he doesn't get the roll up there, he just gets Avatos comboed and then probably dies to the drow. But that was the only thing that really went right for them there. And then, of course, the fight blows up in their face a little bit. They do have Doom, they do have Chrono, and they do have, most importantly, that BKB on Yuma, so now doesn't have to worry about getting caught by a stray split earth, but now is the time for them to hit. No help from Divide, though. He's the one on CD, he's just going to farm, he's going to look for his own BKB, he gets to be selfish in this moment. But this is also where Wildcard, they're smoking past all of Hokori's vision. So Hokori kind of know that, well, nobody's farming your triangle right now, nobody's even moving there waiting for the camps to respawn. So we're going to get ourselves poised for a fight, because we know the only way for you to fight right now is with that Chronosphere. I don't know if they know about the BKB, though, but nobody's seeing this mid-tier 1, so the Kori are definitely ready for that jump when it does come through. And Wildcard, they might not choose to venture on the low ground here. It kind of seems like a death sentence.
Yeah, they are hesitating a little bit now that they've crossed the river. Is there a second smoke from them? Not really, so... yeah, they're kind of stuck on this side. Hokori, meanwhile, they're going to push their way forward. Vitaly into the trees, max level Edict, really digging into that tier 2 tower, and well, if they didn't suspect before that something weird was going on, the fact that no one even looks at the tier 2 after they start pushing it really just kind of confirms it.
Yeah, and they're still hesitant to show them this mid wave. They know if they do, then it kind of announces their presence, but at the same time, if Hokori get another creep wave up onto the tier 2, then, well, that's going to be the focus on that tier 2
Tali
back in the Chrono.
Okay.
The toss.
Oh, he was close enough for the toss. That's... Yuma has the ability to control time and space, but the Olakor is a very strong rock, so apparently he can toss him out of that. It's lore.
Yeah, that's one of those bullshit interactions that's still in the game somehow. Because, yeah, no, that's extremely unlucky. And that is now your BKB wasted, your Chrono wasted. Nobody could follow up because the Chrono was the tip of the iceberg there. So it's not like you could chain it out with the Lasso or Rolling Thunder. And your longest cooldown now gets kind of wasted. And, of course, now smoke up from Hokori. They know they want a big fight and smoke breaking, but Divide reacts quick enough, just wanting the creep wave. He still has his BKB, but he's certainly going to get forced out of it.
Still has a little bit of time on the Firefly, so he can just get up the ramp, but the BKB doesn't last forever, and Vitaly just keeps on chasing. Defensive telekinesis attempted by Alex, but the Olakor is still on him. Avalanche into toss, and not only does Divide die, but he uses the max duration BKB charge, so not fun. And honestly, maybe he should have just tried to TP with the BKB on him, but hindsight.
Yep, hindsight is hindsight. Now, Hokori, I really don't think they should feel strong enough to pester this tier 3, but until the Bat Rider's live, they can afford at least to try and force out the glyph, but that's where the rest of Wildcard, a testament to their ability to just push out these creep waves. Xantic almost has a full Ag Scepter, so when it comes to his defense and the Rolling Thunder, hit his level 15 as well, that Shield Crash spam is going to be fearsome. It's something to honestly be terrified about. If Xantic can get a nice roll off in these team fights, or he's not just getting right-clicked to death by Lumiere, well, that's going to be the big problem. But this is an even bigger issue. Undying, Abuse, again, right into the pit. Get a DD run as well, one that they're not even going to pop. And sadly, this is going to come too quickly and in a situation again where Yuma doesn't have this Chronosphere. Just unfortunate for Wildcard, because this is absolutely free.
And let's see, Lumiere is going to take both the Shard and the Aegis, so it's got the upgraded Frost Arrows with the Hypothermia stacks, and I don't know, over the course of sort of long engagements, we see what the Hypothermia kind of does. Just, you could just kind of blow somebody up if they're not paying attention. We'll see how they approach this fight. We'll see what Wildcard look to do now, because they still have the big ults to maybe take the fight anyway, but They've got to take it on their terms. They are going to jump in onto the Lash Rack. Vitaly's getting pulled away. There's going to be the Chrono connecting onto 3. They just knocked 2 of them out, though, but it's fine. Everything's still fine. Vitaly does go down. Gardic is going to fall as well, and Yuma jumps away. Yolakor, though, wants to chase, but Telekinesis preventing him from getting anything off. No tossback. Now Xantic's going to come in. The Rolling Thunder connecting multiple times onto Analog, but his teammates aren't really ready to jump back in yet. They need time to reload. So it looks like they're just going to be able to get the Yolakor. Analog, though, is still not out of the woods just yet. Ollie blinks in. They're able to get off the... Oh, boy. The stomp, but that's not really enough. I think that's going to be the end of the fight. But ET, that's 3 kills taken. They don't get the Aegis, which, yeah, whatever. You still needed a teamfight win, and they got it. The problem is they used just about everything to get that win.
Yeah, and Boris might just be your free cost, but how free is it? Lumiere getting stuck in a situation where he's going to lose both his lives. That's very real, and he's cliffed, but they're weaving. And okay, they will all escape. It was actually only 2 heroes sticking around there, but they got the Aegis, and massive win for Wildcard. Of course, now it's the opposite end. It's go, go, go time for Hokori. It's time for them to get their glyph and then push up onto those tier 3s, but they're getting more and more gold per these kills, and the higher level, especially Xantic gets, the less you're going to feel that cooldown on Rolling Thunder. Narrowly dies, or dodges a dive onto him bottom, even though, oh, what a toss!
It's going to pop the Yules. Or the Yules was popped onto him, though, actually. Which,
he's got roll.
Yeah.
So he's out. Oh, another Yules.
Another Yules, but here comes Yuma, looking to push into the fight. There may not be a Chrono, but he's starting to get some damage going, and Vitaly, he's just getting bashed to hell. Vitaly's going to get taken down. And Xantic will fall as well before the TP comes through, so at least it's a trade, but that was not supposed to be a trade. That was supposed to be, we caught a Pango, let's kill him quickly. Instead, they end up losing their Leshrac for it.
Yeah, and each time they lose the Lesh, you lose the Siege Engine. It falls into Lumiere's responsibilities, where the Drow is the one who actually lets you roll these towers, but Drow hitting a tier 3 isn't going to force out a glyph. And Yuma gets to wait for his Chrono to come back up off cooldown. So yet again, Wildcard, they don't whiff on these team fights. Every single time, at the very least when they're using this Chronosphere, aside from the one mishap, they're getting something that makes that Chrono cooldown feel less and less. As well as you're getting level 20 now on your Faceless Void, got a full Mjolnir. Anybody that gets in that Chronosphere is starting to become very killable. Not to mention Lumiere does great damage, finished up his Silver Edge, has a Blink Dagger as well. He's a very hard draw to get your finger on, but if you ever catch him, 2000 HP, you'll knock him down. He is not tanky. He hasn't gotten to that stage of Drow Ranger just yet. And without that Aegis, because of course they lost it before, we're in a very similar situation like Game 1, where Wildcard want to wait, and they're being allowed to wait. Because without an Aegis, the Hokori simply don't feel strong enough to actually get to that next stage where racks are on the table.
We see Gardic finishing off some Guardian Greaves here, so that could help with the durability issue as the Yolakor. That's a huge avalanche connecting onto 2. That's both Boris and Divine Llama taken down, and it's Xantic. I don't know what the plan was, but it didn't seem like a good one. He will be taken down as well. Alexo on the run, should not be making it out of here, and that is just 4 dead in the blink of an eye. They go from trying to contest a rune to just losing.
Yeah, just late BKBs coming out from your Batrider, followed up by whatever that was from Xantic. Has now put Wildcard in the worst possible position, because now 20-second timers, you're going to get glyphed on right now, which isn't worst case scenario, but it's still going to feel extremely awkward. Yuma is still the dangerous man. He can still flip this game on its head, and of course, you're going to have another glyph, which will allow your Pango and your Batrider to come back up, but we should see Hokori just leave, as they know that's the way they throw.
They're just gonna clear out of here, not looking to start anything. They got their clear-cut teamfight win, and the objective off the back of it. Anything further is, again, as you said, how you throw the game. And I think Hokori may be a little sensitive to that after what happened in Game 1.
Yeah, they know. If that's the way this game is going to go, they're going to do it on their own terms and surround themselves with their own vision. That's what Gardic's doing right now. He's being the buffer. He's just standing in front, blocking any possible smokes from Wildcard. But we're back to waiting game, though. You know, that was a gift. That was 6,000 gold deposited into Hokori's net worth bank, but the state of the game still hasn't changed. There's still a huge amount of respect that you have to give to Wildcard and their ultimates. We haven't even seen a lot of their ultimates land in quite a while here, especially the Doom. Just hasn't found a target quite yet, even though it might be time to start looking for one, because you are going to lose your last tier 2 here, and of course, without Glyph, the stakes are that much higher. The Hokori do have an objective and a forcing move at all times right now. If they want to, they just walk up to your racks or your high ground, they press their edict, and then you have to be in the base already. You can't really afford to have a slow response anymore.
There goes the tower. Vitaly is TPing himself top, though. He's got some teammates coming up behind him, and they're going to look to start something. This is going to be tough to pull off, though. Yuma is already sort of running away from them, and he's got the time walk, so... yeah, they're not going to get what they want here. They are still pushing, though, but Yuma's going to push in, spots the Olakor, realizes that is a lot more than just a tiny, and just going to try and buy time, but wait reinforcements, see what comes his way, because Wildcard are looking to make a move. That Lotus, though, prevents Boris from going all the way in, but it doesn't stop Yuma. There's the Chrono, but where's his backup? He needs more damage. They are looking for the Leshrac, but they're not able to get him, so they'll shift focus instead. Trying to bring down Gardic. They do finish him off, but Vitaly's starting to go to work. Bloodstone active, acting as the anchor for this fight. Analog jumps in on the backline to take out Divide Llama, and yeah, it's a little bit too broken up for Wildcard. Now they're going to try to make their retreat. They're not all making it out, though. Boris gets hit by the Gust. Lumiere finds that kill, and Analog, how long for Blink? 2 seconds. Yuma's going to try to get out. He's still silenced, though. Slowed now as well, but Alexo's going to pull his teammate back in, and they should be safe.
Yeah, and even though it looks like a good Chrono, you don't get the Undying, and you don't get the Drow. So when it comes down to it, there's just not enough follow-up. Lumiere gets to duck out and hide for a lot of that fight, and especially a lot of the Rolling Thunder, so the follow-up to the Chrono doesn't hit either. And unfortunately, the Chrono even body blocks the Doom from finding any Doom target. So yet again, Doom is still up. Of course, has not found his way into anyone. And the 3 cores, well, they're here. They're ready to go. They're hitting your building. They do get the Glyph, but they also need to be defensive. Why give them a 3v4 right now? But the lasso,
okay.
Vitaly, he ventured. He does have Bloodstone and Lotus still, but bash.
Yeah, the bashes are just going to do him in, and now... never mind, okay. It's a nice gust from Alexo, but not really one that they can follow up on, or... maybe they can. They're sort of looking in that direction, but I don't know if they can catch up anymore. And Analog's getting out. Gardic's going to walk away, and I will say, if you're Wildcard, you were able to mitigate a lot of the damage there, right? You pulled the Leshrac back in. That's a huge kill, but only the ranged Rax is taken in this middle lane, so it really isn't that bad. And Roche is coming up in about 5 seconds here, ET, so they hold the line, and they have, at least for now, better positioning around the Roche pit.
Yeah, and the initiative will switch. This is where Wildcard are the ones kind of with a forcing move. 15 seconds on their Chronosphere as well. They still want picks before they all and out go for that Roche. The Roche isn't that great, but they find it in Hokori. They found something in this Tiny. He's got the Yules if he gets it off, but no, chain stunned. I don't know if he was able to see the Roche either, so this might be the wave response from Hokori.
Wildcard are going to push in. How quickly can they do this? Well, if Yuma comes over, it's going to be a bit faster, and you see Boris just going to hold behind a tree that is...
oh boy.
That tree is not big enough to block Doom. That doesn't make sense, but whatever. He's just looking to act as that sort of buffer, but, well, now they need to get back and defend the base. Analog tries to push in to buy. That was a very aggressive blink with no lasso available, so he goes down. The Rax falls. Guess they did get the Aegis, and yeah, an Aghanim's blessing that the Faceless Void will keep for himself, but now he's pushing directly into a rough fight. The Chrono's down, but he needs help. Who's coming in? Who can help him out at this point? They didn't get Lumiere. Now they'll doom him, but it's too late. Yuma's already losing that first life, and Lumiere doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. He's just right-clicking to hell, and everybody is just going down around him as Yuma gets stunned up. Second life, did not have his BKB because he used it the first time, and ET, it has been a while since I have seen a team transition that poorly from Roche attempt into team fight, but there it is.
Yeah, and now, well,
bad.
your Bat Rider is going to respawn. They just pressed the issue. They pushed into entire Hokori vision, and now, without the Faceless Void, I think this is at the very least Mega Creeps, but it might just be the game in itself. You have to hope they run into your fountain right now, because there's just nothing to play for. And Identic showed for a second. Lumiere's quick on the draw, and, well, That's a buyback force out of your Pango. If he dies again, the game is over, but the game might actually just be over. There's no glyph. There's no reason for them to go for another lane. There's no doom once Boris goes alive. He's just another hero to blink in and stomp and then die to Lumiere, who will just chunk through you, BKB or not. I mean, this is just it. You have to roll and do something, but there's just not enough game left.
Yeah, it's already too late. It feels like Boris is going to try to push in, but he's lost, really, just about all of his health. Hokori are maybe focusing a little bit too much on these heroes as opposed to the Ancient itself, but you feel like it doesn't really matter. And Xantic will still fall. Boris goes down. There's the GGs. And Hokori, well, they'll close out their group stage run, at least on a win, but a performance like this, ET, in this game that ended up not mattering really kind of makes you ask some big what-if questions going back to game one.
Yeah, of course, and I'm positive for them. Probably feels like a frustrating series loss, even though it's a 1-1, you know, but they got what they wanted. Wildcard got what they wanted, and this was not maybe the best of showings, you know, for qualifying. Your qualification game didn't end up looking like that much of a stomp, but you do what you got to do, you know. You have maybe a little bit of a messy game, a little bit of a messy draft as well. Hokori, of course, drafted and played to win all three of their lanes, and they did exactly just that. And Wildcard played the lineup that, of course, is just scrambling to try and win as many team fights as they can, and they kind of do. It's a weird game, and then, of course, everything with that last 2-3 minutes of that game is just beyond belief. Just very odd stuff. Something that we're not going to think about, but Wildcard, I don't know if they're guaranteed last spot, as in the bottom position of our 4 teams to qualify just yet. I think we have to wait for the standings of the other 2, but they do qualify, and that's all that matters here for them.
They make it in. I will say, I was looking at it. If Thunder Awaken lose all 4 games today, then they and Wildcard are tied, and then we go to Neustadt score. I still can't pronounce the name correctly, but there will be a tiebreaker triggered between those 2. So that is Wildcard's path to being maybe the 3 seed instead of the 4, but that requires Thunder Awaken to lose 4 consecutive games, which seems a little unlikely, but hey, as you said, the most important aspect is that they made it into top 4. At that point, I don't think they care in the slightest about what the seed is, as long as they make it.
Yeah, and definitely some things to iron out, some things to talk about coming into the playoff stage, but who knows? And something that you can never really take away from teams like Wildcard, teams like DogChamp, is that NA squads do play that much differently when it comes to playoffs. Once elimination is on the line, we've definitely seen teams immediately go for that 180 where they just pull out all the stops, they pull out the tricks. I think that's where, unfortunately, for a lot of our SA fans, we've seen SA teams 13-3, you know, 14-2, 16-0 group stages, and then lose 2 best of 3s, and then they're gone. But that's where I think for NA squads like Wildcard, maybe they've got a little bit more gas to give once we do see them in. But we'll have to see, and we've got 2 more series left.
Yeah, we got 2 more series left, both of which, as we alluded to before, will be including Thunder Awaken. So they hold their destiny in their hands. They're going to start off with a best of 2 against Team DogChamp, which obviously will be our next series up on the schedule. So we are going to really get ourselves into that one just as quickly as we can here. So we will be taking a short break. When we return, it'll be the start of that 3rd series. So stick around, and we'll be back in a bit.